it's always a great opportunity when I'm able to speak about the work that I'm doing that is really unique and, in many aspects unprecedented. And in Philadelphia, again, we have one of the largest Muslim populations across the nation. And we are doing a lot of work, from the political aspect, from a legislative standpoint, and establishing those policy changes that are unique to our community and they really help us to advance the needs of our communities.
Hello and salam. Welcome to Muslim Viewpoint, a new podcast series powered by American Muslim Today, a groundbreaking nonprofit digital newspaper which champions civic engagement. AMT informs and empowers the diverse voices of almost 30 million Muslims here in the U.S. and other Western countries. I'm Maya Gaylor, and today we have an interview with Emgage's Pennsylvania Executive Director Salima Suswell, who moderated the Muslimahs Running for Office panel earlier last month in collaboration with Muslimahs in Policy. The panel featured Muslim women currently running for local offices and discussed issues such as racial equality, how to serve the youth, and their campaign experience. Suswell founded Evolved Solutions, a management consulting firm, to help Philadelphia achieve their political and public affair goals.
Well, some of the campaign work that I've been doing for Muslim elected officials in a city like Philadelphia, that is like 1/3 of the population identifies as Muslim. It's been, really it's been really groundbreaking work to elect to work on campaigns and help to elect Muslims who were running for office. I've worked on the campaign for city council members. Our first Muslim city council person is Councilman Curtis Jones Jr. He is now the majority leader of city council. Also, State Senator Sharif Street, who is now the chair of the Pennsylvania Democratic Party. You have State Representative Jason Dawkins, and also former State Representative Mudita Johnson Harrell. And then I it's not a campaign that I also worked on campaign for one of our city commissioners, Omar Sabir, and judicial candidate Nasrat Rashid, who ran for office in Delaware County and won as the first African American woman appointed to the Delaware County Court of Common Pleas. So those are just some of the races that I can think of the top of my head that I have worked on. And it's been really, really exciting. There was also a Muslim woman who ran for sheriff of the city of Philadelphia, who I know and am friends with, but I didn't happen to work on her campaign. But she made history also as the first woman and first Muslim woman to win the seat for sheriff of the city of Philadelphia. So we have Muslims elected at various levels of government, local and state here in Pennsylvania.
Right, awesome. So can you tell me about the event that was hosted earlier this month in collaboration with Emgage and the panelists who are running for office, the Muslim women? What was that like? Engagement, turnout?
Yes, it was very nice, and I'll share with you. We had State Representative Medina Wilson Anson from Delaware, who was one of our panelists. We had Sister Fatima Iqbal Zubair from California, who ran for Assembly in 2022 in South LA. We also had Sister Reina El Hamed from New York, who ran for Congress in 2022. And we had Sister Enas Yunus from Kansas, who is currently running for city council the city council at Overland Park. So this was, it was really exciting to be able to dialogue with women from all over the nation running, who had run or are currently running for different positions. uh, that greatly impact our communities. And we got to hear lessons learned. And, for example, one of the issues for Sister Fatima and Rana were redistricting. And we had a whole conversation about the impacts of redistricting and how that happened in the middle of their campaigns and really deeply impacted the outcome. We got to hear from Sister Medina Wilson Anton, who actually won, not just when she was first elected, but also she was reelected in 2022, I believe, to the Delaware State House. So she's an incumbent now and will be running again in 2024. So we just got to hear lessons learned. We talked about different topics such as, you know, we spoke about different topics that impact the Muslim community, the history of African American Muslims, and how running for office deeply connects to change and liberation for African American Muslims. We also spoke about the youth and how being an example for the youth who may follow us in the future in terms of policy change and advocacy and just civic engagement as a whole. We did have like I said, we did have a conversation about redistricting and just ask questions about why they had decided to run for office and the impact that they can make in the communities that they represent respectively. And so those were some of the things that we spoke about: multiracial solidarity, representation, and just the collaborative efforts with communities to have our voice heard, as Muslims running for office and Muslims that are engaged in politics.
Yeah, so why is it important to have not only Muslim women in government, but to also involve American Muslims in the government process, the entire democracy?
Well, I think that, Muslims have been here since the inception of this nation in America. And I think it's come time that we take our seat at the table. Muslims represent, the most diverse, one of the most diverse religious groups. We have Muslims who are from all walks of life and from many nations that have migrated here, but also, some of the Muslims who are indigenous to American soil and have been here, like I said, since the inception of this nation. And so our issues are important. The unique needs of Muslims need to be met. And, I think that it's important that we are at the table to influence policy and to be making decisions at all levels of government, whether local, whether city, state, or federal, just to ensure that the needs of our communities are met on, domestically and foreign. We have many allies, across the lands that help to improve, our economics and our societies in various ways. And so, it's very important again for us to have a seat at the table to have our voices heard so that the needs of our communities are met.
Yes, and then so can you talk about some campaign strategies that you will be doing, especially for next year's 2024 elections and getting Muslim voters involved?
Yes, absolutely. So Emgage, at Emgage, we in 2020 we had a campaign called the Million Muslim Votes campaign, and we were able to secure votes at a nonpartisan on a nonpartisan basis of over 1 million. I want to say 1.3 million Muslims. And so we want to make sure that Muslims are exercising their right to vote and participating in civic engagement. And what our strategy now is just to organize across all of our chapter states. We have chapters in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Texas, Virginia, Florida, New York. And we're also present in the Virginia DMV area. But other than that, we're also organizing in spaces that have large African American Muslim populations, such as Cleveland and Atlanta, Georgia. And we want to make sure that we are engaging as many Muslims as possible, so that we can establish the Muslim voting bloc and hopefully swing this election in the direction that best suits the Muslim American community.
And then uh, I don't have any further questions about specifically the campaign strategy unless you want to add anything else about what you're doing or any other projects. But I did want to talk to you about your evolved solutions, just a little bit, just to get a little brief.
Okay, sure. Well, in terms of campaign strategy, our strategy is always rooted in grassroots organization, touching as many Muslim communities as possible, touching as many Muslim households as possible. We encourage Muslims to vote specifically because, again, we want to build power for our community in the United States of America. We want to continue to elect Muslims to office also. So not only are we encouraging folks to get out and vote in their local, state, and federal elections, but we're also encouraging folks to run for office, which is, what that panel discussion was about. We want to ensure that Muslims have a seat at the table and that our voice is accurately heard. So if you like, you can move on to Evolve Solutions.
Yeah, so just give me a brief overview of basically, why you founded it, why you feel it's important, what your mission is.
Absolutely. So I founded Evolve Solutions. Wow, I want to say it was in 2010, about 13 years ago. And it was because I recognized the disparities, that were impacting my community. I recognized the need um, to offer consulting that specialized in cultural competency and community engagement. I felt that some of our and that's specifically for with a focus on African American communities, but also communities in color in general, and communities of women and children. This is what my focus has been. So diversity, equity, and inclusion is something that has been a major focus point for me and in my life's work. And I just tend to believe that if you meet folks where they are, if you educate yourselves about their life, about their communities, that we open up the pathway to better communication and community, advancement and community unification and building. So I started a management consulting firm called Evolve Solutions that did just that. Now, a huge part of my work is also policy advocacy. And so I have worked on, establishing policy, working with some of the legislators. I mean, we also do GA, government affairs. And so utilizing my relationships in government to and ignite change for the communities that are most marginalized has been central to my work. And we have been able to change policies, statewide rules, and create laws that support not only communities of color, but the Muslim American community as a whole.
Yeah. So what kind of impacts have you seen been made in your time?
Well, one of my greatest accomplishments was getting the Eid holidays recognized on the public school calendars, not just in a large school district like Philadelphia, but in 16 surrounding counties. You have the two Islamic holidays now being acknowledged on the calendar. That is something that was never, heard of in the city of Philadelphia or across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. That took, a lot of grassroots organization and lobbying with, elected leaders. And it also was an advantage to have Muslims who were elected to office in the state who helped to support those policy priorities. Another one has been working towards just a few different projects that focused on the school to prison pipeline. We wanted to remove student resource officers from the schools because we felt, that this was really creating an environment that encouraged the school to prison pipeline. So that is something that we have also advocated for. In healthcare, we have advocated for policy that is recently coming to fruition, and that's for maternal mortality and Black maternal health. We actually were able to work with State Representative Morgan Cephas from Philadelphia and other members of the Legislative Black Caucus, the Pennsylvania Legislative Black Caucus, this year during Black Maternal Health Week. And even the presidential administration has some policy goals around change to support the Black women who are, who are suffering most from death during childbirth. So those are some of the policy initiatives that we've been working on. We're also right now working to get accessibility to halal meals in public schools in Philadelphia and across Pennsylvania. And that's one of our current policy initiatives that we're hoping to have established by the 2023-24 school year.
Thank you for joining us this week. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at American Muslim Today. If you'd like to read more about this story and access more digital content, feel free to check out our website, AmericanMuslimToday.com. We'll see you next week on The Muslim Viewpoint.